Due to low sustenance, a lack of kip, sunlight and fresh air giving him the slip, and possibly a temporary blip, Fred felt a strong urge to shoot from the hip, a need to compellingly spread the word about conspiracy theories he'd heard, concerns that had never before occurred, now presently seemed no longer absurd. For example, the corona disease was funded by Gates and elite MPs, supported by big pharma companies and produced in a lab by the Chinese. The Illuminati run the EU, the Nazis never had a far-right view, Hitler's still alive somewhere in Peru, in a basement, writing Mein Kampf Part 2. Greta Thunberg spreading climate change lies, the royals are green lizards in disguise. The White House is rife with communist spies, ISIS used weapons the US supplies. Kennedy was killed by the CIA, Bin Laden's running Guantanamo Bay. Every single Shakespeare sonnet and play was written by Will's wife, Anne Hathaway. Jesus was a Persian hermaphrodite. Ali versus Liston was a rigged fight. There were trolls in Russia's forests at night, hacking Facebook accounts out of pure spite. McCartney died in 1966. Morgan Freeman's really Jimi Hendrix. Marilyn Monroe was killed by a mix of the mobs and Robert Kennedy's tricks. Big corporations are using fluoride. Government mass poisoning is implied. Elvis's demise is strongly denied. He signed off his death, though he never died. Syrian families crossing the sea are only fleeing their economy. Obama wasn't born in Hawaii. His birth certificate's a forgery. Mass shootings in America aren't real. They're faked by lobbyists after a deal. The Second Amendment is wrong, they feel, and they want it taken out of the bill. The moon's landings never happened at all. Bush caused the towers in New York to fall. Antifa's at Soros's beck and call. And Earth is not a celestial ball. The list goes on, with no sign of exhaust. Conspiracy theories, Google source, whimsies from logic and reason divorced. Some even denying the Holocaust. The Daily fed by harbours of dread to the gullible, scared, easily led, or simply sad people eager to spread like Fred with a tinfoil hat on his head. This one's called The Charming Man. "Please, would you mind stepping onto this chair?" said the charming man with the charming hair and a charming voice, calm, soft and polite, with a charming manner, charming and bright. The commoner stepped up onto the chair, stood underneath a noose hanging there. The charming man said, "Put your head inside." And the commoner, charmed, gladly complied. The charming man smiled, charmingly sighed, kicked at the chair, and the commoner died. "Please, would you mind coming over here?" said the charming man, charming and clear, with a charming manner, charming and fair, with a charming face and a charming stare. The commoner came to the edge of the tower, stood to attention, gave a quick bow, and the charming man said, "Listen carefully, get ready to jump on the count of 3. The charming man counted, and charmed as could be, the commoner jumped to his death eagerly. "Please, would you mind picking up this gun?" said the charming man, the charming one in the charming suit, charming bow tie and charming top hat. What a charming guy. The commoner picked up the weapon and said, "Would you like me to point this gun at my head?" And the charming man said, "My, how did you guess? How clever you are." "Of course I do, yes. Now, put your finger on the trigger and press." So he did, and the servants cleaned up the mess. "Please, would you mind following me?" said the charming man, ever so charmingly, with a charming demeanour and charming bent of a perfectly charming upper-class gent. The commoners heard him and loved his style, so they happily followed, and after a while they came to a field of mud, barbed wire, dead soldiers, trenches, gas and gunfire. The charming man left them in that quagmire to fight for his cause and fulfil his desire. This one's called NIMBY, not in Nigel's backyard. House the homeless, feed the poor, open up a food bank store, shelters for the hardcore, the injured and the scarred, teenage kids who've run away, sons and daughters led astray. Give them all a place to stay, but not in Nigel's yard, not in Nigel's backyard. He don't want your mess. Find another doss house, this is his address. Take that sleeping bag away, you're permanently barred. You can rummage rubbish bins, but not in Nigel's yard. Flee the war, sail the seas, cross the barbed wire boundaries with 1 million families tortured, drained and starved. Leave the spies, the secret police, the night terrors that never cease. There's asylum, love and peace, but not in Nigel's yard, not in Nigel's backyard. He's told you loud and clear, this plot of land's a private band. You're not welcome here, there's sympathy but there's no tea. Sorry if that's hard, you can be a refugee but not in Nigel's yard. Cultivate a nature trail, help the birds and bees prevail, breathe the air no longer stale with fossil fuels marred, harness power from wind and sun, get the carbon down to none. There's a clean up to be done, but not in Nigel's yard, not in Nigel's backyard. Take yourself away, Greta doesn't speak for him, he needs a holiday. School kids slating cars and planes, get shown his red card. Go on strike, hold up the trains, but not in Nigel's yard, not in Nigel's backyard. He's got things to do, he don't want a wind farm ruining his view. Your invasion of his space is held in low regard. Make the world a cleaner place, but not in Nigel's yard. This one I wrote in a doctor's surgery when I was waiting for some blood tests, and I'm still waiting for results. But I've called it Drop Zone. It's the sort of shit that goes through my head now I'm in my 60s. Chronic pain in a private place, overnight mole, sallow face, muscle wastage, brittle bone. I'm in the drop zone to the great unknown. Overtired, broken sleep, tossing, turning, I keep getting up to take a pee, often very painfully. In the morning I'm depressed, what's the point in getting dressed? All I do is moan and groan, I'm in the drop zone. Leave me alone. Over anxious, tired, confused, read the paper, watch the news. Chronic pain won't go away, worse than it was yesterday. Google searches amplify the symptoms. Am I going to die? Ring a doctor, join a queue, cursing, waiting, can't get through. Then reception finally telling me that the GP can only talk to me by phone. I'm in the drop zone, anxiety prone, waiting on a PSA, hope the biopsy's okay. Ali's sitting on the throne, such is life in the drop zone, where anuses are sore with piles, walking yards can feel like miles. Chest pains are emergencies, tumours, malignancies. Ever wonder to yourself why you rarely give your health more priority than wealth? Sickness creeping up with stealth, thinking of a hospice bed. Will you miss me when I'm dead? Hopefully there'll be no need for ages yet to come and read the epitaph on my headstone. Borrowed time is nearly blown, what I need's another loan. I'm in the drop zone, I want to postpone. Hey you, this last one is about a pair of glasses that I imagine you can buy and you give them to your partner when he or she decides that you've got your sex life's on the wane basically, and you put your glasses on your partner's head and they make you look like, I don't know, fucking someone really good looking, like Clint Eastwood when he was younger, or whatever actresses are. I can't even think of one. Angelina Jolie or whatever. But in this case it's Brad Pitt, and I imagine Nigel Farage getting a pair of these glasses and giving it to his French girlfriend Lara, and she puts them on and it makes him look like Brad Pitt, and I've called it Brad Pitt. Nigel one night while laying in bed patted Lara on the shoulder and said, "Darling, I love you with all of my soul. Please, would you lower your flag on my pole?" "Nigel," she said, "I'm too tired tonight. My sovereign banner's folded up tight." So saying, she drifted off into sleep, leaving poor Nigel awake, counting sheep. And as she slumbered, content with a snore, he tossed and turned till his pole was no more. This scene was replayed all week and the next. The weeks became months and Nigel was vexed. His petty to me had lost the desire. What would it take to rekindle the fire? He picked up the mail, smiled at the news, filled as it was with pro-Brexit views, then noticed an ad that took him aback, an item he needed delivered fast track without hesitation, an order he made, and he, being Nigel, was offered free trade. 2 nights later he said to his beau, "Close your eyes, darling, I've something to show." "What is it, Nigel?" she asked in surprise, for he had placed glasses over her eyes, on opening which she near had a fit. Nigel was gone. In his place was Brad Pitt. "Darling, don't fear, it's really just me. Nigel's still here, though it's Brad Pitt, you see. The glasses you're wearing are making it so. Now unfold your flag and watch my pole grow." Oh, what a glorious time Laura had. So much the better now Nigel was Brad. Her flag was hoisted to wondrous heights and lowered again with equal delights. Nigel lay back most pleased with himself, fearing no more his place on the shelf. As for the glasses, he donned his own pair. Presently Lara was no longer there, and flying the jack on top of his stump was lovely Ivanka, daughter of Trump. Thank you very much.